might be able to see it later. So basically, I'm just going to create a blank server. It's going to be a, oh look, new versions. Fancy. Let's use this one. I'm going to create a new blank server. I'm not caring much about anything. Oh, SH keys. I'm going to use a SH keys doesn't matter that much. The SSH keys are keys we use to connect to our virtual, like to connect to a server without specifying user and password. You can steal SSH. We use SSH as a verb too. We can SSH into the server using username and password, but usually that's not a really good way to do so because it's weak, right? The password has like top 20 characters, and SSH key has like 100 characters. Is a stronger way of authenticating. So now when my server is up, I have a IP address which I can use to log in. I should have gotten a few emails. Have yet. It's root. So as I have the SSH key is something I keep in my laptop, right? So if I go to SSH, I have this idrsa.pub thing, which is my SSH key, and it always has a private and a public part. What I share around, like what I share with DigitalOcean is my public one, and then of course I have the private one right here. So this is the content of the public SSH key. So do you have a repo?
Yes, I do. Let me send you a link to that.
All right, use this demo day channel. So, well, okay. Here we go. So this might fail, guys. I haven't ever seen this app yet. So we're going to take it slowly. I'm going to run everything as root. This is not the best way to do it. Usually we create a user first, but it takes time and it's a super simple process. I can share a script with you, which then you can run and just create a regular user, right? So like that's just a regular user. So the first thing we're going to do is try to clone this repository. So what I will probably see is that Git is installed. Nice. But usually we try to update the server. I don't know how much you guys are familiarized with Git, with Linux, and in this case Ubuntu, but usually Linux, every other distribution uses something like a package manager, right? Whenever you have to install something, you just do something like apt-get, pacman, yum. There are different types of package managers. Ubuntu uses apt-get. So then I can do something like install, and I can install some packages that are useful for our repository, right? For our project. So Git, which is already installed, and now Vim, GCC, stuff that we might need. I'm just going to run this. Seems like this stuff is already installed. It isn't. Usually installing things in this server is super quick because it's like these guys share a good pipe, a good fiber pipe between them and the mirrors containing the packages. So I'm going to clone this repo. Oh, sorry. If I haven't authenticated this server, I cannot usually use the SSH clone, so I have to use the HTTPS one. So as you will see here, I have the hacker tracker project from these guys. Then we usually do a few things that are related to Python. For example, we're going to install virtualenv, right? Well, we have to first install pip. So we're going to do something like, I could download pip and install the latest version, or I could do something like apt-get install python pip. Usually downloading the, where is it? This changed a lot. Usually you can download this package, unzip it, and do python setup.py install pip. I'm just going to use this quicker way right now because we don't care much about the version right now, but it's better to be sure that we are downloading the latest pip version to install it. I haven't checked I'm going to open a new terminal down here with, I don't know which versions of Python I have. Seems like I have Python 3.5 and I also have Python 2.7. These are all my versions. You guys can see my screen, right? The console.
Yep.
So I have 2.7 and 3.5. Okay, now I have installed pip, so I can do pip something, right? I'm going to install pip install virtualenv. Oh crap, this thing always happens. As I am in Argentina, my locale, these guys assume that my locale is yes. I want to set all my locales for pip. See? Oh, it was. See, I don't know what this means. So this is just an environment variable. I'm doing export, so it will be set for the rest of the session. Cool. So I have now virtualenv. I can just create a virtualenv. Tracker m. And I will install these packages requirements. As you can see here, these guys did their job in a good way. By the way, I created the virtualenv using Python 2. You could have created this virtualenv using Python 3 easily. Um, I just assume Phil, David, Greg that you're using Python too, but I could create it with other version.
That's accurate.
Cool. So I'm going to install the requirements. Oh, NumPy. This might break something. Yes. Okay. You guys are using Postgres?
Actually, I forgot to take that out of the requirements file. We are not using that, so we can skip that if that's going to cause issues.
Yeah,
Well,
we're using SQLite.
Yeah, it's not a big issue. We should have to first install Postgres, and then it'll be available. Just more time for this demonstration that doesn't add much value.
Sure. Yeah.
Actually. Postgres SQL 9.5. And I want I think this is enough. Package seems to have changed. All right, so all the requirements are created. Now I will try to run. If I do this run server, what do we do? Okay. Up. Okay, I'm going to change this script a bit because this script is doing two things, guys. This script is, or this script is both defining the application and it's also making it run if it's run as main. I mean, this is fine. Sorry, I'm going to show you how to run it first. Let's do something. We have Unicorn already installed. Yeah. So the first thing we're going to do is try to make Unicorn work, or Unicorn. This is a simple HTTP server. So you see here, you need to define an application which is basically a WSGI application, which Flask is a WSGI application. So what I'm going to show you is just, we're going to do this. Let's see if it works. Yep. So this thing is running, okay? What I'm doing is I'm running Unicorn saying which module and which app and where is the application located. So this is similar to doing something like my or run server .app, right? It's the app variable inside the run server script, which is what we have right here. That means that if I move to other place and I try to run the same script or program, wherever, this is going to break, right? It's breaking because it cannot find that module. But if I add the project, let's see again what we have here, if I add this project to my Python path, I could be placed anywhere that this thing should be able to see it. So again, if I run here, it should fail. If I do something like Python path equals, what is it called? You guys chose a difficult name. As difficult as rmotr. Okay, it's not working. I'm going to add the full path. Slash root. Because this is Python path. Now it's working. Okay, so this is usually one of the main sources of headaches if you're trying to run something. It's the unicorn daemon is not finding the application. So now GUnicorn is a Python server. It's an HTTP server, but usually we use it to serve Python programs. We try not to serve, for example, static files. Like if you guys have your site will have we'll have static images, we'll have styles, file icons, stuff that we usually don't want to serve through GUnicorn. Why? Because it's not so fast. There are better servers, like the best example is Nginx. All right. So the Nginx server is also an HTTP server, which is super fast. It's really mature. It's professional. Everything it's used worldwide, so it's a really good server. So what we do is we install Nginx. We ask Nginx to serve in the port 80. So when I'm hitting this domain here, I'm hitting the port 80. And then we make it, we tell that server to do something like, if someone is asking you, for example, something like styles slash something.css, do the serving yourself. Like you go ahead and serve that static file because you are good serving static files. But if the requested site is something like slash, I don't know, get shop offers whatever from the project, which is the Python stuff, sorry, don't take care of that and just leverage on GUnicorn to serve that request, right? So just forward that request to GUnicorn using a reverse proxy. All right, so proxy DigitalOcean, there is a really good no, for Apache, there is a really good guide from these guys on how to set up the, I don't know which one. Whoa, there shouldn't be so many. How to set up the DigitalOcean, sorry, the server to install Nginx and put it as a reverse proxy. It's super simple. I don't know if this was one. There you go. Here it is. So basically, we will have to just install apt. No, Nginx. This is doing pretty much everything that I did before, by the way. This is explaining how GUnicorn is used. Not much to see here. Here we go. All right, so we have Nginx working. I can check that by just copying this thing. And if I go to that server that I have just created, the Nginx server is up. So then what I'm going to do is this. Nginx has two types of configuration. It has a global configuration, which is the nginx-conf file, this stuff here. And it also has a per site configuration. So I'm going to show you. Usually the configuration lives in /etc/nginx, and I will have something inside conf.b. No. Well, this is empty. I have the nginx.conf, which usually imports whatever is here, but as we don't have anything, it will not import it. This file right here. And we also have per sites configuration. So the same server running the same nginx installation can serve multiple sites. Okay, if you are, I don't know, lower resources or you have a ton of sites, you can serve several sites from the same nginx server. Of course, maybe we are going to just serve one, but the explanation, I think it's useful because that's the reason why we have sites per site configuration. So if I go to sites available, I have here all the sites available in my nginx server. If I go to site enable, I have from the site available which ones are enabled. All right, this seems trivial, but that's the way it works. And usually, what is in sites enable, it's just a link to the one in sites available. So disabling or making a site or enabling a site is just a matter of creating a link, all right? Like ln-s, a symbolic link. That's pretty much it. So what I do later is I will create one second. I was going to create a new file, but it doesn't matter. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create the configuration for my site inside, of course, sites enable sites available /default. In this case, the configuration is pretty much the same as we have by default. Right? This is the stuff that this is here since I have installed my web server. Okay. It's the same configuration, but in this case, what is going to happen is that I will include the part doing the reverse proxy stuff that I just told you, and it's this thing right here. All right. In this case, what I'm going to do is whenever you go to /, all right, so we're going to go to hackertracker.com. Whenever you go to /, don't serve it by yourself, but redirect it, proxy pass it to other server running in some other location. In our case, that location is going to be, I'm going to close this, the one provided by SheUnicorn. So as you can see here, SheUnicorn is running on 127.0.0.1 localhost port 8000, right? So we're just going to forward that to the SheUnicorn server. So let me do it pretty quickly. We are also like I'm going to comment. Actually, I will not comment it. Just in case. All right, so we have this stuff here, and I'm just going to forward this to /127, whatever, she unicorn running. I'm going to restart Nginx to do service. Service is how to say it? It's like a program that it's run whenever the whole server starts, the system starts, whenever Ubuntu boots, and it will load programs that should be initialized at starting time, right? And that's why we use it. We have something like Nginx stop, Nginx start, and we communicate with Nginx through this service thing. So now when I want to go to this place, you see that it says bad gateway because, of course, the She Unicorn server is stopped. So we have to make it run. And if we are lucky, there we go, it's working. This guy's application is failing, but the server is running. Okay, unable to open database. I haven't created the database. Maybe Bill, can you, or David or Greg, can you guys help me?
Yeah, we actually have defined a database file in that run server script that is not in that hasn't been created yet. Let me take a look at that.
Is it this setup underscore db.py?
Let's see. I'm not quite certain about that. I think that is. I don't see the database file name in there. I'm sorry, Greg. Do you know if we run the setup db file, is that gonna will that create the database in the root directory? Or no, that's referencing the db config file, and we have a database file path defined in there, and then a database file name.
Don't worry, the application is working. We can try to make it work in a bit. What I wanted to tell you guys, which is really, really important, is that, of course, that whenever we go to this place, to the URL, domain, whatever we have set up, we are going to hit She Unicorn. But we don't want that to happen, for example, for static files. So whenever we hit this stuff /static/ and I'm seeing a few things here, static, for example, static favicon. So let's do CSS bootstrap. We don't want to hit the She Unicorn server. We want, as we said, Nginx to serve it directly because Nginx is pretty good at serving static files. So what we're going to do is we're going to, before this is kind of checking in cascade, right? So it will check line by line, and before we have the reverse proxy configuration, we're going to have a static configuration which will just point to the right place to get the static files. All right, so we're going to do, I'm going to just copy this. As you guys see, I'm cheating, right? I'm just copy pasting. This is basically what we always do. All right, and the right location is whoops, this one. Tracker, and it had I'm restarting the server and 403. That means why are we getting a 403? I assume it's because static. No. Yeah, because it's why isn't it? I know what it is because Nginx works as let me show you something. Nginx runs with the www minus d minus data user, all right? And this stuff right here in static belongs to root, the root user. So that's why it's not letting me serve it. This is all going to be fixed if we avoid creating and running things as root, and we then just create as a regular user, as I told you before. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cheat again. I'm just going to static. I'm pretty sure I don't have to. I don't remember if I have to include here this. Still have. One second, guys. I don't know what. Honestly, I don't know what's going on. The same file is on. I should comment this out. Same file is on. Bad idea to use this static. No, auto index. To be honest, server name static. Maybe the alias might work. To be honest, I don't know what's going on here. I will just try to make it work, and if it doesn't, I will just share our own default file, because I don't want to be just making things up. Oh, still forwarding. Anyway, the idea, if it would work, would be to before we have the where is it, the proxy, the reverse proxy call, we should have the static definition in order for Nginx to detect if you're trying to first serve a static file, and if you are trying to serve a static file, or sorry, get a static file, it should serve it directly by them. Find one more thing, but it doesn't seem to be changing anything. I'm sure this error is because Nginx is somehow detecting that we are serving things from the root directory. So if I go to cd/home, well, anyway, I won't waste much time with it. I will just share our own default, our own Nginx site configuration, and you can just copy and paste it, and you will have no issues. Okay, so now the most important thing is, of course, is having these. So Nginx will serve, supposing we fix the static file thing, it will try to serve the Python stuff through the SHE-Unicore server, as we said before, with the reverse proxy. The issue is that we have to leave that whenever we like log out from this server, we need to keep this SHE-Unicore server up, right? Because we cannot like leave a terminal open all the time with the server running. So to do so, we are going to leverage on other program that will just take care for us to like having our She Unicorn process running all the time. What we're going to use is Supervisor. It's a simple tool. We're going to install it in this same virtual M. And what we're going to do is we're going to create example configuration. I'm going to put it right here. Right? It has a configuration server as Nginx. And down here, it has a few directives to create a configuration for individual processes. So the concept is super simple. Supervisor will create a master daemon process that will be running constantly, and it will have child processes that they will be serving individual processes. So that master daemon process will take care of sorry, there is some background noise. If the I'm sorry, if the server, sorry, let me start again. We have the master process, we have child processes. If the master process detects that one of the child had quit or it's broken, it has exited, it will try to restart it automatically. Okay, so that's what we need. We can leave our She Unicorn process running as a child for that master process, and then supervisor will take care of running it whenever it fails. So let's just create a simple configuration for our supervisor process. And we're going to choose a random name. I'm just going to choose hacker. The command to be used is going to be the same command that we used to run, with the difference that when I do something like Python here, and this is important because this is also the source of many headaches, is when I do Python, when I'm running, this is kind of an alias or a shortcut to a real program located in a different location. In this case, this is the correct place for Python, right? Inside the virtual M. When we tell supervisor where to find our program, it will need to have how to say it? It will need to have the full path of that particular executable program in order to work properly. So in this case, She Unicorn is located in the same virtual M directory as Python. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy this She Unicorn, going to be the command, and of course I'm going to include the full path as I said before. This is the minimum, like the minimum configuration we need for our program. So what I'm trying to do then is running supervisor, or running my particular program. And as you can see here, I just have to do, where is it? Running. There is a quick start somewhere. Well, so this is important. What I'm going to have is two programs. The first one is supervisor D. This is the daemon, right? This is the master process we will have to run. And I'm just going to run it, indicating the configuration that I have just created. As you can see now, the supervisor program is running right here. And then we have a supervisor client, which is a program that will interact with that master process, and the child process is running. So we're going to use supervisor CTL -C, always telling supervisor where the configuration is. And I will try to run, and I will check, for example, the status command. So here it's going to tell me all the processes that I'm running, where they are located. All right, we have a fatal error here because we are missing the the Python path from the. I'm going to show you. Whoa. Oh, it's right here. We're missing the Python path. Because for supervisor, what we have to do is we have to provide the Python path as a environment variable. All right, so where is it? Here it is. Environment is a list of key value pairs in the form key equals value, comma, key equals value. So it's going to be Python path equals, and we just need to provide this one. So this thing is still failing. What I'm going to do is, oh, how was the CDL? Stop hacker. Why is it not running? I'm going to just kill the daemon. I'm going to start. And now it's running. As you can see, let's see if it fails. It's running. So we are still going to have our internal server error, but I can easily log out from this machine, and this thing is still running. So what we have here are, guys, are three parts. We have, first of all, we have the application. The one we clone. In this case, Phil, Greg, David, you guys did a good job because it was super simple for me to run it. You had using Flask, you provided the run server module with the application inside. So it was super simple because this is what SheUnicorn is used to do, right? Then we have Nginx, which should serve static files, and it should work as a reverse proxy. We were able to do the reverse proxy stuff. I don't know why the static files is failing, but that's certainly the easiest part, and I will share our how is it say, the configuration for the static static files site in Nginx. And then we have to run SheUnicorn. So whenever Nginx detects that it should leverage on SheUnicorn to run the Python application, it will just forward that request. But to do that, it will need, of course, SheUnicorn to be working. To make SheUnicorn work, we don't just run it manually, but we use something like supervisor that it will just keep working. So I had logged out and I'm logged in again, right? I'm right here. And I am going to ask for the status of my programs. Well, sorry, it was installed in the of my application, so I can log out, log in again, and I will always have, it's like you have good control of how your programs are running and how your programs are working, right? Something else to work with here is to have good log files. So if something fails, we should have log files to indicate what's going on. That's super simple, and just a matter of logging, right, to setting up a few configurations for the program, right? So we're going to say something like standard out log file, standard log file, and we'll just indicate a path for a file, and supervisor will keep spitting out the logging information for our program. And that's basically it. All right, so three parts. First of all, we have the application. We have to clone it. We have to have a good WSGI application. Then we install SheUnicorn. We know it's working. Then we create an Nginx installation. We have to set up the reverse proxy configuration, and then we install supervisor to keep our application working. And that is basically it. The only thing we couldn't make work right now was static files, but again, that's super simple. Once you create your regular user and don't run it as root, I'm sure it's going to work. The final part would be to set up the domain names, right? But that's just configuration in the DigitalOcean setup. But that's basically all what we have to do. Make sense, guys? Any questions? Was it too boring?
I've got a quick question. You said, I think you mentioned we should create a user when we start the server the first time, and install everything under that user's credentials.
Oh, no, to like log in inside a server?
Yeah.
Well, we can do two things. I could ask for your private keys, or I could create a DigitalOcean server that works with username and password. If you guys are working on Windows, maybe it's easier to just use the username and password setup. because you can use that program called PuTTY. I don't know if if you know it, sorry. Maybe that's easier. And actually, we could try that by default, and if you guys have everything working, then we can do this SSH key stuff. But I will just give you, usually what I'm going to give you is an IP address. I'm not sharing my screen. An IP address, I'm going to send it. An IP address, a username, and a password. And you can just log in that. If you have a Linux or a Mac, you can just use a terminal. If you don't have a Linux computer or a Mac, you can just use that simple program. It's an open source free program, and it's super simple to get it working. And then what the other thing I mentioned, Phil, was inside the server we should create a user that is not working like with root.
Okay, and use that to set up Nginx.
Yeah.
Okay.
Exactly. So I think that is basically, it's usually that process. Then you can get fancy and you can add more configuration to Nginx. I don't know, trying to secure some stuff, but it's not such a big deal. I mean, I believe that that's not something that you should be focusing on right now. I mean, the most important thing is it's maybe 95% application, 5% configuration at this point. If you guys have spare time, you can investigate and improve whatever you want, but then it's basically that. Anything else? Maybe I forgot.
Yeah, Santiago, look, our project only serves like two static files. Do we need to put the static file serving server just for those two files?
Well, maybe not, but it's certainly not an issue. I mean, we have so many issues right here, but that's usually the easiest part. It's your choice.
I think it's actually a single.
A what?
We only serve a single HTML file with a bit of JavaScript in it. That's it.
Well, then you can just choose to do it directly with Unicorn. But maybe you have to. I don't remember quite well, but I think you will have to go to set up the configuration for Flask. Not entirely sure. But again, in either two cases, it's super simple. Okay, guys, gotta take off. I'm going to share with you all the scripts that we have. I will ask Martin to create a repository with all the configurations like open there, so we can all contribute. And if you need any help in particular, now that you have gone through these, maybe you will try to make it work and it will fail, and then I can jump and help you directly in whatever you have working. Okay?
Just to make sure that I know how we get started with this, do you have, I can't remember what you said at the beginning, but do you have details we can use to connect to the DigitalOcean account, or is that something that you're going to send to us? Or
I will create the DigitalOcean servers and send you the credentials, IP, username, and password.
Great. Okay, sounds good.
Okay, guys. Let me know if you have any problem.
Thanks.
Bye. See you all. Oh, by the way, this stuff is going to be recorded. I'm going to send the link later. Bye, people. See you.